Hello, and welcome to tonight's ASMR video. Tonight I'll be looking at this Art of Magic the Gathering book, Innistrad. This book is about a couple of different magic sets. The original Innistrad set, Dark Ascension and Avacyn Restored, Shadows over Innistrad, and Eldritch Moon, which is my personal favourite set. I have to give a shout out to Rachel Jordan ASMR, who did a great video on Eldritch Moon and also on this book. I sent her a copy of it because I know she likes Magic the Gathering and all things Gothic, and I thought we could have a closer look at it in my video, since my setup is a little bit easier to wield books in than Rachel's. Let's take a look inside. First couple of pages are an explanation on what is Magic the Gathering, and if you're watching this video for the ASMR and not because you're a Magic fan, Magic the Gathering is a tradable card game where players build collections of cards, assemble decks and battle against each other. Abstractly, the game represents a duel between powerful mages, each casting mighty spells and summoning monstrous creatures in an effort to defeat the other. These mages are called planeswalkers because they possess the rare ability to travel from plane to plane within a vast multiverse, and their great power comes from their ability to draw on magic from all those planes. So these pages explain a little bit about the planes of the multiverse and lists a few of them: Dominaria, Zendikar, New Phyrexia, Ravnica, Chandalar, and Theros. And of course, the plane that this book is about, Innistrad. It says, "On this plane, humanity is terrorized by vampires, werewolves, zombies, and ghouls. For centuries, the Archangel Avacyn and her hosts protected the beleaguered humans, but then she disappeared. Avacyn has finally returned, but what new evils have come with her?" And here we see the magic color wheel, representing the different color cards in the magic card game. White for protection and order, drawn from planes. Blue for deceit and intellect, drawn from islands. Black for death and decay, drawn from swamps. Red for fury and chaos, drawn from mountains. And green for life and nature, drawn from forests. The world of Innistrad. Here we can see a vampire, and here are zombies bashing futilely against the stained glass window of a cathedral, desperately trying to get in. It says, "On the world of Innistrad, horrors stalk in the shadows and scratch at the door in the night. Humanity is beset on all sides. Vampires thirst for human blood. Werewolves live for the thrill of the hunt. The restless spirits of the dead haunt the living, and no corpse is safe from reanimation at the hands of cruel necromancers or cunning scientists. Only their grim determination and their staunch faith in the protection of their patron Archangel Avacyn allows humans to survive in this nightmarish realm. Avacyn and the Angelic Host. This is Avacyn, Angel of Hope. Avacyn was the Archangel of Innistrad, revered across the plain as the source of hope, of protection, and of the blessed rest, a peaceful eternity of slumber in the grave. She offered the faithful efficacious magical wards against vampires and werewolves, a tranquil oblivion rather than the damned fate of a tormented spirit or undead abomination, and a distant hope that some day their descendants might live in an Innistrad free from all the horrors of darkness. This is Sorin Markov, a powerful planeswalker who originally came from Innistrad. This is the High Priest of the Church of Avacyn, Macias the Lunarch. This is the leader of one of the flights of angels, Bruna, the Light of Alabaster. This is Sigarda, leader of the host of herons. This is Gisela, leader of Flight Gold Knight. Avacyn and the Hell Vault. The city of Thraben stands at the edge of a precipice where the river Kirch plummets into the sea far below. Perched on the cliff top there once stood a huge silver monolith enfolded within the twin branches of the Cathedral of Avacyn. The monolith stood on that cliff long before the cathedral was built, and even before the first human settlement was erected on the site of Thraben. Popular imagination claimed that it was a fragment of the moon broken off by Avacyn and brought to the ground as a prison for her foes. The truth of its origin remains unknown even to Sorin. Though it was closely connected to Avacyn, the Archangel did not create it. This is Nahiri, another powerful planeswalker, who was actually sealed within the Hell Vault by Sorin for her defiance. Nahiri and the Eldrazi. The Eldrazi are a race of interplanar beings that once travelled through the blind eternities, devouring whole planes and leaving mana-drained husks in their wake. Thousands of years ago, 3 planeswalkers, Sorin Markov, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and Nahiri the Lithomancer, worked together to imprison the 3 Eldrazi Titans on the plane of Zendikar. The trio made a covenant to guard the Eldrazi's prison, to ensure that they were never again unleashed to continue their destruction of the multiverse. Nahiri remained on Zendikar, her home plane, to keep watch over the Eldrazi as Ugin and Sorin carried on with their business across the plains. The prison was not perfect, and after centuries of dormancy, the Titans loosened their bonds enough to allow swarms of this spawn to emerge and dominate the world. Nahiri waited in vain for her partners to help her return the Eldrazi to their confinement, but neither Sorin nor Ugin arrived, so Nahiri was forced to stop the threat on her own. Concerned by Sorin's absence, Nahiri travelled to Innistrad to find him. When she arrived, Sorin dismissed her, preoccupied with the fate of humanity and his fellow vampires on Innistrad. As they spoke, Sorin's blatant disregard for the people of her plane infuriated her. She had feared that he was incapacitated or dead, but it was only apathy that had kept him from coming to Zendakar's aid. In his negligence, Sorin had allowed the Eldrazi to threaten her home plane, so she threatened to destroy Innistrad in return. Sorin had no patience for Nahiri's tirade. He had only recently created Avacyn to keep the forces of light and dark in balance, and he couldn't listen to Nahiri threaten to undo it all. So he imprisoned Nahiri in the Hell Vault, where she would nurture her anger and hatred in terrible solitude for 1,000 years, surrounded by the malign presence of hundreds of demons gnawing at the edges of her limited awareness. Once, near the end, a ray of light pierced the darkness of her prison. Avacyn dragged into the Hell Vault with the demon Griselbrand, but it quickly dimmed, then went out. Then everything changed. Seeking to destroy Griselbrand, Liliana Vess shattered the Hell Vault, and every dark thing that had been imprisoned there streamed out, fleeing from the radiant glory of the risen Archangel. Nahiri fled with the demons, returning to her native Zendikar. What she found there, though, rekindled her rage into a consuming flame. The Eldrazi Titans were free again, as she had predicted, and Ugin and Sorin had once again abdicated their duty to protect the plane. She knew that she could do nothing by herself to return the Titans to their prison, so she concocted another plan, which would secure her revenge while simultaneously helping Zendikar, the fulfillment of her threat to destroy Innistrad. Nahiri returned to Innistrad. Using her mastery of stone and earth, she created a vast pattern of twisted stone stretching across the 4 provinces. In some places, including Markov Manor, Sorin's ancestral estate, she warped existing buildings into elaborate gravity-defying patterns. In other places, she drew a rock from the ground and shaped it to suit her purposes. In every case, like the hedrons of Zendikar, these patterns channeled the mana of the plane, directing it all towards a single point of the coast of Nephalia. At that site she began construction of a great stone ring intended to draw the Eldrazi Titans through the blind eternities to Innistrad. And thus she unleashed madness on a world already teetering on the brink of the abyss. So Nahiri was responsible for drawing the Eldrazi Titan Emrakul to Innistrad, and with Emrakul's coming, a madness befell the lands, and angels turned against humans. Eventually, the madness would manifest itself in more physical ways, as Eldrazi creatures spawned on Innistrad. Tentacled monstrosities would spill forth from the flesh of people in the time of the Eldritch moon. This is the Chain Veil, a magical artifact owned by Liliana Vess, the Planeswalker. And this is Liliana, surrounded by her adoring zombies. This is Griselbrand, a demon, one of 5, who made a pact with Liliana. In return for everlasting life, Liliana pledged her soul to the demons. But she decided that she did not want to lose her soul, and so sought the demons out by one and destroyed them. Life on Innistrad. This is the symbol of Avacyn's church. You'll see it a lot throughout this art book. This is Ormondal, the profane prince. Among the more powerful demons released from the Hell Vault with Avacyn, Ormondal survived the Archangel's purge by hiding in caverns deep beneath the cathedral. He took Griselbrand's place as the leader of the Skursdag, a cult of demon worshippers within the innermost sanctum of the Church of Avacyn. This is a bitter heart witch. This is a scab. Scabs are assembled from disparate body parts and animated through scientific means to create the semblance of life. Most scabs are more or less human-like, but creative stitchers have crafted winged scabs similar to the drakes of other worlds, towering giant scabs, and unrecognizable horrors. Creatures of the night. Werewolves. Driven by their passions, their supernatural hunger, and the cycle of the moon, werewolves shed their tenuous humanity and embrace the savage predator within them. They live in the boundary between humanity and supernatural evil, between civilization and the wilds, between the light and the utter darkness. They embody the urge to violence, the rebellion against social mores and chains of conscience, and the hunting instinct within the human heart, gathering in wild packs or hunting alone under the silver moon. Vampires. The vampires of Innistrad form a civilization that stands alongside and in direct competition with humanity, presenting the greatest danger to human life on the plane. Like werewolves, vampires were originally human, and they view themselves as successors to the weak human race, even as they recognize grudgingly that they require humans to feed upon. Vampires are the embodiment of self-indulgent desire, pursuing hedonistic cravings that humans suppress out of a sense of morality and propriety. In their stately manor houses, sprawling courts, and towering castles, 4 great family lines of vampires show varying degrees of aggressiveness towards their human prey. lists here the different vampire bloodlines of Markov, Voldarin, Falkenrath, and Stromkirk. Geists. Innistrad is filled with the ghosts of the human dead. These spirits, called Geists, take many forms. Some are protective ancestors, some are simply lost between life and death, and others are vengeful creatures bent on resolving conflicts they couldn't in life. While Avacyn stood as guardian over Innistrad, she and the angels of Flight Alabaster ushered the spirits of the departed into the ether, where they rejoined the essence of the plane. In her absence and now her madness, many spirits cling to the world of the living, unable or unwilling to find their way to the blessed sleep. So Geists belong to two different colours in the card game. White Geists, which are benevolent, and blue Geists, which are much more tricksy. There are also black Geists. Originally, ghosts in the Magic the Gathering game were black, but with the coming of the first Innistrad set, it was decided that most ghosts would be white or blue. Demons. Demons are the counterparts of angels, malevolent creatures of raw black mana. Some were once humans who sold their souls for power, and all are utterly corrupt and evil. When they first rose to prominence on Innistrad, Avacyn set out to destroy them. One by one she engaged them in battle, and emerged triumphant, but every time one demon was slain, a new one emerged. Avacyn came to realize that, as creatures of pure mana, demons could not be utterly destroyed. When a demon died, its essence was scattered for a time, but would soon coalesce again into a new form. Thus Avacyn's mantra became, "What cannot be destroyed will be bound." Rather than slaying demons, she imprisoned them in the Hell Vault, which Sorin had created at the same time he made Avacyn herself. With the proper incantations and ritual sorceries, Avacyn and her host could cause any object, animate or inanimate, to be drawn into the Hell Vault and held in stasis. So the angels slowly purged the greatest demons from Innistrad, until one mighty fiend confronted Avacyn, the demon named Grizzlebrand. Dragons and worms. Dragons are extremely rare on Innistrad, mostly confined to the remotest parts of the Gaia Reach in Stensia. Most of these dragons are brutal fire-breathers that prey on any creature that strays into their territories. A few, though, are known to favour more monstrous prey, hunting vampires and flying into Kessig to feast on werewolves. Known as Moonveil dragons, these extremely rare creatures have shimmering, transparent wings that gleam in the moonlight as they hunt at night. The sight of one is considered an inspiring good omen by those who fight the evils of the world. Devils. Devils are infernal perpetrators of malicious mischief. They make up the personal armies and entourages of demons, demons' selfish desires and urges made flesh. They are cruel, gleefully sadistic, and have no regard for the safety of themselves or others. They delight in destruction, mayhem, and pain. Constructed creatures. Many of the evils that plague humanity on Innistrad rise from within humanity itself, and among the most terrible of these are creatures that are built by human hands. Some of these are animated by the magic of necro-alchemists or witches, but others are inhabited and given life by hostile spirits or other malign forces. They include gargoyles and scarecrows, haunted dolls and suits of armor, the weapons and juggernauts powered by Geist energy, and homunculi created by stitchers and necro-alchemists. Elementals and avatars. Elementals are manifestations of the forces of nature, and on Innistrad that generally means sinister forces. They arise from the Twisted Woods, the Ulvenwald, and the Somberwald, that hide some of Innistrad's most fearsome monsters, or spawn from the fiery chasms that seethe like cauldrons of hate in the midst of the land. Like geists, they are closely associated with specific colors of mana. Provinces of Innistrad. Gavoni. The great gleaming city of Thraben stands like a bulwark against the encroaching darkness. The largest city in Innistrad, it represents the undying hope of humanity and embodies the Church's promise of protection from the world's evil. Scattered across rocky moors and rolling hills around the high city are a handful of small towns and farms, some having little more than shuttered windows, barred doors, and grim determination to stand between their terrified populace and the horrors of the night. Kessig. Before humans ventured into the wild wood, before their squash farms and apple orchards displaced the ancient trees, before the silver of Avacyn and the prayers of the priests brought light under the forest eaves, the Ulvenwald was a dense, majestic forest, towering over low, leaf-papered hills. Even then, ghostly spirits and howling wolves stalked amid the trees, and werewolves fled from the towns and villages of Gavoni's moors into the sheltering wood. But then humans moved into the area and named it Kessig, felling trees and planting crops, and praying to the angels to keep the evils of the forest at bay. Despite their efforts over the course of a century, the claws of the forest still hold the tiny human villages in their grip. Can't help but think that these dark figures look like the knights who say knee. Perhaps they want a shrubbery. Nephalia. Beneath an ever-present shroud of fog billowing in from the sea, the people of Nephalia maintain a semblance of normalcy, buying and selling goods from across Innistrad in their bustling markets, setting out to sea in tiny fishing boats, or tilling the soggy earth in waterlogged fields. The three major port towns, Havengul, Drunau, and Salhof, are the centres of commerce in Innistrad, buying goods from the other provinces, trading from among themselves, and slipping them out to the provinces again. Stenzia. Clouds of purple and red shroud the sky above the forbidding mountains of the Gaia Reach, never allowing the sun's full light to shine on the ground below. The jagged spires of vampires' castles jut up from the peaks, keeping silent watch over the isolated valleys below. Stoic and enduring, the people of Stenzia huddled in their stone-craft villages built against the mountain-sides. Wisps of thick fog twine amid the trunks of black pines in the midlands. Thick bogs suck dead trees slowly down into their murky depths, and dusky pasturelands provide scant sustenance to flocks of scrawny sheep. This is Olivia, a powerful vampire. Avacyn's Fate. This is Liliana Vess again, and you might recognize this art. It features in most of my videos because it's the playmat on the table I use. It's a piece of art called Macabre Waltz, and it shows Liliana dancing with a zombie. Growing up on the plane of Dominaria, Liliana Vess studied the healing arts, but in secret she supplemented her studies with inquiries into necromancy, believing that the study of death magic could aid her healing work. An encounter with a mysterious raven man in the forest near her home led her to combine her studies and concoct a potion intended to heal her grievously wounded brother, but the cure went awry, transforming him into an undead monster. In desperation, Liliana embraced the necromantic arts and raised a mob of zombies to fight her tormented brother, and in the chaos and fury of the battle, her spark ignited and sent her to Innistrad, where she could study her sinister magic without guilt or fear of punishment. Two thoughts drove Liliana's ongoing quest for power. She hoped to reverse the horrible transformation that she had wrought on her brother, or at least to end his pain, even if that meant consigning him at last to death's embrace. She also sought to avoid her own death, for she feared nothing more than joining her brother in the void. As the years took their toll and a cure for her brother's curse evaded her, she sought help from the most powerful planeswalker she knew, the elder dragon Nicole Bolas. Bolas agreed to broker a pact between Liliana and 4 mighty demons from across the multiverse. The demons promised to give Liliana power beyond her dreams and centuries of ageless life. As the 4th demon etched the terms of this demonic contract into glowing lines carved in her skin, she savored the new heights of her magical power, and mentally resolved to free herself from the demon's control by any means necessary.